What if your belly fat isn't disappearing because you lack discipline, but because you're expecting the wrong timeline? Online, you're promised 6 pounds lost in 48 hours. Others say it takes months, maybe years, before anything changes around your stomach at all. But what does pure biology say? How many days does the human body actually need to switch from burning sugar to truly burning fat? And when does it really begin attacking that stubborn visceral belly fat? The answer is not a motivational technique, it is not a diet trick, and it is not a magic number. It is a biological timeline. Day 1, Day 3, Day 14, Day 30. In this video, we break down the exact calendar of fat loss, what happens inside your cells, when insulin drops, when ketones rise, when your body protects muscle or sacrifices it, and why your belly fat is treated like a high-security vault. When you understand how your metabolism truly works, not only does your body change, your entire strategy changes. Let's decode the logic behind belly fat.
Imagine stepping on the scale after 24 hours of fasting, and it shows 3 or even 4 pounds less. It feels like a miracle, like proof that your body is finally burning fat. But this is where the first major illusion begins, because almost none of that weight is actual body fat. In the first 24 hours, the body does not attack your fat reserves. It attacks its fastest, most convenient energy storage, glycogen, stored sugar in the liver and muscles. And here's the detail almost no one knows. Every gram of glycogen is chemically bound to about 3 to 4 grams of water. That means when your body burns sugar, it simultaneously releases large amounts of water. What looks like fat loss on the scale is actually your body squeezing out like a wet sponge. Water leaves, inflammation drops, the number on the scale falls. But the fat, it remains largely untouched. That's why many people regain that weight immediately when they eat a carbohydrate-rich meal after a fasting day. The sugar refills the stores, and the water returns. So day 1 is not fat loss, it is preparation. The body empties its battery, but it hasn't even touched the large fuel tank, your body fat. And this is where it gets interesting. Because to lose real belly fat, the body must flip a metabolic switch. It must make a decision. Does it stay in sugar mode? Or does it begin accepting fat as its primary energy source? This transition does not happen instantly. It requires a clear biological signal, and above all, time.
On the second day, something decisive begins. The liver's sugar stores are nearly empty. The battery is almost depleted. And right here, the body faces a biological choice. Either it forces you to eat, or it learns to switch. This moment is referred to in science as the metabolic switch, a term popularized in part by neuroscientists like Mark Mattson. It describes the transition from glucose burning to fat burning. And this transition typically begins between hour 24 and 36. Its peak often occurs around day 2 or day 3. During this phase, the following happens. Insulin, the hormone that stores fat, drops to one of its lowest levels. Glucagon, the hormone that opens fat cells, rises. Adrenaline and noradrenaline increase, signaling energy is needed. The liver now begins producing ketone bodies from fatty acids. These ketones are not emergency fuel. They are a highly efficient, clean energy system, especially for the brain. But here comes the emotional low point. For many people, day 3 is the hardest day. Blood sugar is low, the brain craves quick energy. Headaches, irritability, fatigue, all of this can occur. Not because something is going wrong, but because the system is being recalibrated. It's like the moment when a hybrid car switches from battery to gasoline. There's a brief hesitation, then it runs more steadily than before. And at exactly this point, real fat burning begins at a relevant speed. But here lies a crucial distinction many people do not understand. Just because the body is burning fat does not automatically mean that stubborn visceral belly fat disappears immediately. Because this fat is not ordinary storage tissue. It is metabolically active, hormone-sensitive, and biologically protected. And to understand why it takes so long for this specific fat to melt, we must dive deeper into its biology.
When people lose weight, something frustrating often happens. The face becomes slimmer, the arms more defined, maybe even the legs, but the stomach, it stays. Why? The answer lies deep in the biology of visceral fat, the fat that is not just under the skin, but deep inside the abdominal cavity, around organs like the liver and intestines. This fat is not passive energy storage. It is hormonally active and evolutionarily protected. From an evolutionary perspective, belly fat was vital for survival. In times of food scarcity, it protected essential organs. It was a strategic reserve, not a cosmetic detail. And that is exactly why there is a built-in security mechanism. Visceral fat cells have a high density of so-called alpha-2 receptors. You can think of these receptors as a brake. When stress hormones, known as catecholamines, are released, they are supposed to trigger fat cells to release energy. But alpha-2 receptors act like a countersignal. They say, not so fast. Especially in the abdominal area, this brake is strongly expressed. That means, even when your body begins burning fat, the vault does not open immediately. It requires repeated signals. Several days with low insulin, several days with stable stress hormones, several days of metabolic clarity. That's why many people see little change in their belly during week 1, and then suddenly in week 3 or 4 experience a visible breakthrough. It's not that fasting wasn't working before. It was working, but the hormonal signals needed time to release the biological brake. And during those days, something else happens, something that goes deeper than simple fat burning, a process that was awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2016, autophagy.
While you are not eating, something happens internally that is invisible to the naked eye, but biologically revolutionary. Around hour 16 to 18 of fasting, a process begins, known as autophagy. The term comes from Greek and literally means self-eating. In 2016, Japanese cell biologist Yoshinori Osumi received the Nobel Prize in Medicine for uncovering the molecular mechanisms of this process. Autophagy is not a diet trend, it is an ancient survival program. When no food comes from the outside, cells begin recycling damaged components, faulty proteins, defective mitochondria, zombie cells that promote inflammation. You can imagine it like a nighttime cleanup in a city. Broken machines are dismantled, waste is removed, resources are reused. And here lies the connection to belly fat. Chronic inflammation and metabolic stress make fat cells resistant. They respond less effectively to hormones. They hold on to energy. Autophagy helps reduce this internal chaos. While the process begins after about 17–18 hours, for many people it reaches significantly higher intensity around day 2 or day 3. That means the first 3 days are not just a phase of fat burning, they are a phase of metabolic reorganization. But one important point must be clear. Autophagy does not automatically mean massive fat loss. It is a supportive mechanism, not a magic switch. And this is where many people make a mistake. They think, if 3 days are good, then 5 must be better, and 7 even better. But the human body is not a linear algorithm. It responds to balance. And this brings us to a hormone that determines success or failure with belly fat, cortisol.
In theory, it sounds logical. Eat less, burn more fat, reach the goal faster. But the human body does not function like a calculator. It functions like a survival system. And every survival system responds sensitively to stress. Cortisol, often called the stress hormone, is produced in the adrenal glands. Its role is actually useful. It mobilizes energy in dangerous situations. But in the modern world, the danger is not a predator. It is chronic stress. Too little sleep, too much caffeine, constant availability, mental overload. When prolonged fasting meets an already stressed system, cortisol can rise. And here is the paradox. High cortisol levels signal to the body, protect vital reserves. And that often means belly fat is preserved. Muscle mass is broken down. Because from an evolutionary perspective, muscle tissue is more quickly available than deeply stored visceral fat. Many people fast too aggressively, sleep poorly, train hard, drink a lot of coffee, and then wonder why their belly fat remains. Sometimes less fasting leads to more fat loss. A structured approach, for example 5 days of moderate intermittent fasting combined with 2 more flexible days, can help stabilize hormonal balance. The goal is not maximum stress. The goal is sustainable adaptation, because real fat loss is not a sprint. It is a hormonal reorganization. And this raises another crucial question. What happens when fasting ends? Because the way you eat can neutralize all biological progress within just a few hours. After 24, 48, or even 72 hours of fasting, your body is in a sensitive state. Digestion is downregulated, insulin levels are low, fat burning and ketone production are running efficiently. But this is exactly where many people make a critical mistake. They break the fast with a heavy, highly processed meal, a lot of sugar, a lot of fat, large portions. Biologically, this is a shock. During fasting, the body produces fewer digestive enzymes. Stomach acid is reduced. The gut moves more slowly. If suddenly a large amount of rapidly available carbohydrates arrives, insulin spikes abruptly. And insulin is not a neutral player. It is the most powerful fat storage hormone in the human body. A massive insulin spike stops fat burning within minutes. The body immediately switches back into storage mode. Not because it is reacting incorrectly, but because it wants to survive. That is why the first meal determines whether metabolic adaptation remains stable or whether it is interrupted. A gentle transition is essential. Easily digestible proteins, warm broth, steamed vegetables, moderate portions. This type of refeeding signals safety. It allows insulin to rise moderately without triggering a hormonal overreaction. Fasting does not work in isolation. It is part of a biological cycle: fasting, adaptation, nutrient intake, recovery. And when this cycle is repeated consistently, something fundamental begins to change. Not just weight, but the metabolic set point, the internal balance that determines which body weight your system accepts as normal. And this brings us to the decisive time marker. Not 3 days, but 30.
3 days bring you into the fat-burning zone, but 30 days change your system. Here lies the difference between short-term weight loss and true metabolic transformation. To lose 1 pound of pure body fat, the body must burn about 3,500 more calories than it consumes. Moderate intermittent fasting, for example a 16-8 or 18-6 rhythm, often creates a daily deficit almost unnoticed. But the decisive effect is not only the calorie deficit, it is repetition. After about 10 to 14 days, hunger hormones like ghrelin begin to stabilize. Strong craving waves decrease. Blood sugar fluctuates less. Between day 21 and day 30, something even deeper happens. The body becomes fat adapted. That means it no longer views fat as an emergency solution, but as its primary energy source. Mitochondria, the power plants of your cells, become more efficient at handling fatty acids. Insulin responds more sensitively. Inflammatory markers can decline. Visceral fat slowly loses its hormonal shield. This is the point when many people report, "Suddenly, my belly is shrinking." Not because they changed something radically, but because biological adaptation needed time. 3 days ignite the fire. 30 days change the structure of the system. If you only want a short metabolic reset to lose water weight and activate fat burning, then 3 days are a strong biological milestone. But if you want to sustainably reduce stubborn belly fat, your body roughly needs 3 days to switch into fat burning, 14 days to develop hormonal stability, 30 days to fully adapt. Real change does not happen over a weekend. It happens in the quiet, consistent hours when insulin remains low, cortisol is controlled, and the body learns to regulate itself. Your belly fat is not a sign of failure. It is the result of biological protection mechanisms. And when you understand these mechanisms, you no longer work against your body, but with it. The human body is not a chaotic system. It follows clear biological rules. Give it the right environment, and above all, the right time, and it will adapt. If this video has given you a new perspective on fat loss, write in the comments below which day seems most challenging to you, day 1, day 3, or day 30. And if you are ready to try a structured 30-day approach, let us know. Stay patient, stay consistent, and above all, stay logical.